Watsi is a website that lets anyone fund healthcare for patients around the world. So if you go on watsi.org, you would see photos and stories of individual people from one of 20 countries, and you could donate as little as $5 and directly fund, say, life-saving heart surgery for a 15-year-old boy in Guatemala. About 5 years ago, I was serving as a Peace Corps volunteer in Central America, and I was riding in the back of a bus. And a woman got on the bus and started asking all of the local passengers for donations to pay for her son's healthcare. And I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit this in retrospect, but I kind of just tuned her out. If you've traveled in Central America, you know that people get on the bus all the time and ask for money. But I remember looking up a few minutes later, and this woman was walking down the aisle of the bus toward me. And almost all of the local passengers were giving her money. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out why all of these local people trusted this one woman when they hadn't trusted all the people that had gotten on the bus and asked for donations before. I remember looking, and then I noticed that the reason they trust this woman is because she has her son's medical record with her. It's in a red folder. She's passing it around the bus. People are asking her questions. It's from a local hospital. And she really seems to earn the trust. So she gets to the back of the bus. I make a small donation, and she gets off. And a few minutes later, I just remember getting goosebumps and thinking, why isn't there a website for this? Why isn't there a website that makes it really easy for people around the world to raise money for healthcare that they can't afford? And so I decided to start Watsi and to name it after the town I was traveling through when the woman got on the bus. So we had no idea how to start a startup. So got a group of friends together, and we decided to do this in our spare time. We just thought Watsi was a great idea. We thought it was something that should exist in the world. So nights and weekends, we'd get together, we'd have a Google Hangout, and some of us would code, some of us would do the financials, some of us would do our partnerships. And we built the organization. We didn't raise any money, completely self-funded, used free software, really low cost. And we launched Watsi on August 23rd, 2012, so a little over 3 years ago now. And I'll never forget the morning we launched. It was 9 a.m. I was at my day job working in finance in San Francisco. And we sent an email out to like 500 people that had given us their email addresses saying they were interested in this idea. And I remember thinking, okay, now it's going to go viral. Like this is it. Everyone's going to love this thing. It's going to be amazing. And so we pressed go. The website went live. Nothing happened. And then we got our first donation. I'm looking at our admin, and it's my mom. So my mom donated. And then a few minutes later, we get another donation, and it's my co-founder's mom, and all of our moms donated. And then a few of our dads donated, and then our friends and family donated. And then that was it. And in like an hour after we sent the email, it was kind of dead. That was the extent of our big, exciting launch. And I had been a really avid reader of this website called Hacker News. Hacker News it looks like a forum from like the late 90s, but it's really the epicenter of technology news. And the way it works is you post content. You can post a link or an idea or a website, and the community, it's like 200,000 people a day read this website, can upvote or downvote your link, depending on how much they like it. And I had always been too scared to post on Hacker News because it's a notoriously kind of like harsh community. If you have a stupid idea or post a bad link, people kind of ridicule you. There's also some amazing people on Hacker News. But I decided to post a link to Watsi, and the title was, "We built a website that saves lives." So I posted a link on Hacker News, and almost immediately it just goes to the #1 post, which in the tech world is like this kind of like really nerdy sense of fame that like, yes, this is huge. And that sent about 16,000 people to Watsi in our first day. 16,000 people from all over the world, not just the US, from the UK, from Pakistan, from Brazil, from China, came to Watsi and collectively donated to fund healthcare for every single patient that was fundraising on the site at that point in time. Not a single patient went unfunded. So I thought, this works. Like there's actually some proof that this idea works, that there's a desire for people to fundraise for healthcare, and there's a desire for people to donate. And so I quit my job like a week or two later, and I had 3 months of savings in the bank. And my first job was to go out and raise money. The way Watsi works is if you donate on the website, 100% of your donation funds healthcare for a patient. We don't take a cut. We even pay the credit card processing fees. But obviously we needed some money to run our organization, pay for our servers, et cetera. And so I quit my job and I went out to try and find someone, maybe a foundation or a corporation or an individual, to give us a little bit of money. I was like, maybe I could live on for like a year, like $10,000, right? If I just eat ramen, that's all we need. So I went out to try and fundraise, and we didn't know how to fundraise. We'd never tried to raise money as a nonprofit. We didn't know anyone. We didn't kind of speak the right lingo. And we fell flat on our face. We met with a lot of people, and we didn't raise any money. So started to get really desperate. After about 3 months, I was like almost about having to move in with my mom. And I got an email from Paul Graham, who actually built this website, Hacker News, where I had posted Watsi. And he also started Y Combinator, which is one of the first technology incubators, accelerators. And we met with Paul Graham, and we went on a walk around Mountain View. And kind of he does these Socratic walks, and he's kind of grilling us and asking questions. And we have this kind of like collective epiphany that Watsi is a tech startup. He looks at us, he says, you guys have the same problems as all of the for-profit technology companies we advise. And we had that epiphany too. We never thought about ourselves, we always thought of ourselves as a nonprofit, not necessarily a technology startup. And so he invited us to dinner, wrote us our first check, which was the most money I'd ever seen in my life, and invited us to join Y Combinator as the first nonprofit to join this for-profit technology accelerator. So we went through Y Combinator, we graduated about 2 years ago now. And since then, just things really took off. We doubled, for example, last year. And when we graduated from Y Combinator, we'd funded healthcare for 250 patients. And just a few weeks ago, we hit 5,500 patients. So we grew more than 20x in the last 2.5 years. And we've processed about $5 million for patients around the world. And we ask donors all the time, we spend a lot of time on the ground with hospitals, we spend a lot of time with donors, kind of just asking patients and donors questions, why do you use Watsi? There's a lot of nonprofits out there, like, why us? And everyone always comes back and gives us, the same 3 answers. They say, first and foremost, because it's efficient, that, I'm nervous about giving to organizations and having no idea how much of my money is going to what I am intending my money to support. But on Watsi, I know that 100% of my donation directly funds healthcare. And they say because you're transparent. We've kind of run this experiment at Watsi where from day one, we decided to try and be the most transparent nonprofit in the world. And what that means is we have this public spreadsheet, which is now like 15 tabs, maybe 20 tabs, and it has all of our data. It's just a dump of our database. So you can see screenshots of our bank account. You can see our monthly financials exported from our financial software. You can see our roadmap and our projections. You can see our strategic plan. You can see everything that we use to run our organization. And they also say that they like donating on Watsi because it's effective, that normally when you give to charity, it's a little bit of a black hole. You write a check and then, maybe you get an annual report a year later. But on Watsi, you can actually connect with the individual that you're supporting and you get an update on the outcome of that particular procedure. And so that's the reason Watsi's been growing on the donor side. And so it's been growing, it's been doing reasonably well. And recently, we're a really small team where, over the course of the last 2 years, we're an average of 5 people. Now we just hired a couple people, we're 11. And a lot of companies have started coming to us too. And we've done like 25 corporate partnerships, never done any outbound. And we ask them kind of the same questions and they say the same thing. They say, we have this corporate social responsibility program. We want to find effective nonprofits to donate to. You guys are small, you're effective. That really resonates with us. You're efficient, you're transparent, et cetera. And so we started working with these companies, working with like Google and Tencent and EA Sports and a lot of kind of larger tech companies. But something really surprising has happened recently where these CSR departments are coming to us and saying our marketing department's interested in this. Like, what do you mean? And they're like, our human resources department is interested in this. And they're saying that, we used to just give grants, that we would just give a grant through our CSR department and then, tell our employees about that. But what we started doing is actually giving our employees Watsi credit. So we have this notion of a Watsi gift card. And letting employees allocate the money to patients. So instead of us giving on the behalf of our employees are giving on behalf of us. And that's improved employee retention and happiness and culture. But even more exciting to me is that they're doing the same thing with their customers. So kind of some of the more entrepreneurial tech companies we're working with are giving Watsi gift cards to their top customers. So we've actually built an API, which is like basically a piece of technology that lets any company software talk to Watsi. And the way it works is, if a customer signs up for a product and you send them a marketing email, you can just BCC giftcard@watsi.org and it will automatically send a Watsi gift card to that customer in their name. And that customer can then use that gift card to fund healthcare for an individual patient. And what these marketing departments are reporting to us anecdotally is that, they came to us with altruistic intentions. They wanted to help patients. They had this budget, but it's actually driving business metrics that they're saying that these customers that we send Watsi gift cards to are less likely to churn. They're less likely to stop using our product. They're thinking about our company in a more favorable light. We're more likely to retain these employees. They're perhaps more likely to increase their subscription or their purchase to a greater amount. And it, to me, almost seems too good to be true, right? Like, is it possible for a company to make a tax-deductible donation that actually drives business metrics to help people and also make money? And honestly, I don't know the answer, but we're really interested in testing that over the course of the next year or two, really beginning to quantify not only what is the impact companies and CSR departments can have on the world, but actually, is it possible to do good and do well? Is it possible to help people and also grow your business? So if anyone here is interested in working with us to try and answer that question, my email's on the board. Would love to chat with you. So thank you for having me.